Okay. Then welcome again to Wissenschaft und Demokratie, Science and Democracy. This module is about conspiracy theories. We'll be concerned with three questions. On the one hand, what are conspiracy theories? We'll see that the answer to that is not entirely obvious. Second, why do people believe in conspiracy theories? Third, what is wrong with conspiracies? Is anything wrong with them? There's really also a fourth question, which is addressed by Quassim Cassam in his book on conspiracy theories, that I hope that the answers to the first three questions will help us answer. He argues in any case that they do. Namely, what can we do about the spreading of conspiracy theories? Now, the issue of why people believe in conspiracy theories, I've already posted about that, and I'll post this again in the written part of the lecture. And this issue, as I said, is taken up by Cassam's chapter in the book. So here we'll really look at these two questions for now. What are conspiracy theories and what's wrong with them? So to the first issue, what are conspiracy theories? Now, I mean, on the as a starting point, you might think, what's all the fuss about conspiracy theories about? Because, well, there are conspiracies, obviously. You might think a conspiracy theorist is someone who has a theory that there was a conspiracy at some point. And in that sense, it seems we should all be conspiracy theorists. That is, we should believe that there are conspiracies sometimes. So what's a conspiracy? I mean, roughly a conspiracy is when a small group of conspirators work together in secret to then do something illegal or harmful. Okay. And those things happen. So take Julius Caesar. A bunch of conspirators got together, including his son Brutus, to murder Caesar on the Eden of March. That was a conspiracy. It happened. There's history about it, and there's some questions about whether it's true, but or what exactly happened. But generally, it is agreed by historians that that Caesar was murdered by these conspirators. Or an example mentioned by Cassam. In 1605, the conspirators around Guy Fawkes, I think, sorry, I have to look up the name again, conspired in England to overthrow the government. Another conspiracy, the Iran-Contra affair in the 1980s, or indeed 9/11 was a conspiracy. There was a bunch of conspirators that in secret planned an attack on the Twin Towers. That is a conspiracy of a kind. Okay, so what's so bad about conspiracy theories? If you think that conspiracy theories are just any theory that says that there's a conspiracy, there's nothing bad about it, and we should be conspiracy theorists. Okay, so those are real conspiracies, examples of real conspiracies that happened according to their standard definition of conspiracy. Now, Cassam really very elegantly and very plausibly suggests that what we shouldn't be, conspiracy theories aren't just theories that say that it's a conspiracy. Not any theory that says that there is or was a conspiracy is what he calls a conspiracy theory with a capital C and a capital T. That it's not a theory in the sense that we find sort of interesting and confusing why people have conspiracy theories about 9/11, why people have conspiracy theories about the vaccines, have conspiracy theories about how, you know, the Pizzagate affair, have conspiracy theories about how a bunch of rich Jewish people control the world. there's something interesting, something problematic, confusing going on about those theories. And we need a special term for those extraordinary theories. And that's what Cassam calls conspiracy theories with a capital C and capital T. Some of the ordinary conspiracy theories that we encountered that I was just talking about, like the murder of Julius Caesar, with small letters, they're true, and some might be false. Maybe they might be, maybe the history will reveal that Caesar was killed in a different way. The issue isn't just about truth and falsity, okay? It's about, it isn't just about truth and falsity. It's about how, what these conspiracy theories with a capital C and capital T, the way they function. We'll talk about that. Now, you might ask, why draw the distinction? Well, because there's nothing especially interesting about conspiracies per se. I mean, this is things that sometimes happen. What's interesting is a particular way of communicating that is the conspiracy theories with a capital C and T. And that's what we're trying to describe, and that's what we're trying to say. Well, what is that? What's so weird about those things? Okay. Now let's start with some examples then about conspiracy theories. There are a number of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. Holocaust denial is one of the big ones. Ursula Haverbeck is one of they're called the grandmother of the Holocaust deniers, because she's an old German woman who denies the Holocaust, has promoted this denial for, I think, her whole life. An older anti-Semitic conspiracy theory is the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. It's a conspiracy theory that it's not exactly clear how it originated. Around 1900, probably 1903, 1902, in Russia, and it's a fake book that appears to describe a meeting of the Elders of Zion, so a group of Jews to take over control of the world. Okay. It's fake, and it's a classic example of a conspiracy theory. Another conspiracy theory that 9/11 was a US operation to create a new world order. Go to Wikipedia, you can find a lot of information about that. Not all of these conspiracy theories are so political directly. There's conspiracy theories of the kind like that there's the Paul is dead myth. So that's the myth that Paul McCartney died in 1966. It has a lot to do with this image. I'll return to this image, explain some of the features of conspiracy theories. That Princess Diana is still alive, was sighted in Canada, and there's myth about how the death in the tunnel was faked, and so on and so forth. Okay, there's some examples of conspiracy theories. Okay. Just to get you think about. There are other ones. I'll mention some on the way. You can think about your own examples. Now, one thing that is helpful in the Cassam book is to introduce the following terminology. We can talk about producers of conspiracy theories, that is those who create them, spreaders of them, those who tell them to others and spread them through other media, videos, and so on, and the consumers who to read about them, watch them, listen, and so on. A term that's also kind of useful is conspiracy entrepreneurs, that is those who make money from conspiracy theories and their spread, so who spread them and make money on that. I talk a little bit about this in the written part of the lecture. Okay. All right. Now, also, of course, important, sorry, my video is in the way, that there's no clean distinction between the consumers, the spreaders, and the producers. Often the consumers spread at least to some degree, they share videos with their friends and so on. And there's no clear distinction between the producers and the spreaders, and often the spreaders sort of continue the myth in some by adding pieces to it, in some cases at least. Okay, now Cassam has two main theses about conspiracy theories. One is that they are intrinsically implausible. That is, it's when we look at what kind of thing they are, they're the kind of theory that is not supported by good evidence, unlikely to be true, and indeed, it's part of their design, part of why they exist in the first place, that they're unlikely true. And I'll explain why that is and what I mean by that. The second is about the function of conspiracy theories. So Cassam argues that conspiracy theories functions as forms of political propaganda. Sorry, there shouldn't be conspiracy functions. It should be conspiracy theories function as forms of political propaganda. So they're not just badly reasoned theories, or they're not just the result of people thinking shoddily or people thinking unclearly. Their whole point is to serve to influence public opinion by proposing explanation of events that are unlikely to be true. They're trying to change public opinion by promoting an unlikely explanation. Okay, so I will try to understand that. Now, okay, so conspiracy theories and political propaganda. Now, in some cases, it's pretty obvious that the function for conspiracy theories is political propaganda. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion was pretty clearly created in Russia to justify pogroms against the Jews. It's pretty obvious that the denial of the Holocaust promotes the ideology of neo-fascist, neo-Nazi movements. It's pretty obvious that the spreading of these conspiracy theories is meant to cause anti-Semitic emotions in people. Okay, it's pretty clear that that's the point in these cases. But then what about other cases, like, even the Paul is dead or the Princess Diana cases? Okay. So it's not the claim here that everyone who produces a conspiracy theory, even, let's say like an anti-vaxxer movement, conspiracy theory that vaccinations causes autism or something like that. The point is not that everyone who produces these conspiracy theories like that is deliberately setting out to manipulate the public. Okay, though some people, of course, do that. Rather, the idea is that the conspiracy theories exists in part to advance a political ideology or influence public opinion through the use of implausible explanations of major events. Okay, so again, the point that their function is to advance a certain political ideology isn't that their content is political. There are conspiracy theories about the Beatles, but their whole reasons of existence is that they aim to undermine trust in the standard story of the establishment, by which normally knowledge or information is distributed in societies. So Philip Kitcher, in the reading that I added to the 11th module, talks about the information and inquiry system in a society. So there is a sort of system, society sort of uses to have public knowledge about various things. And the whole point of a conspiracy theory is to raise doubts about that standard way of describing knowledge, of distributing knowledge. And it aims to do that in order to influence public politically away from that standard kind of political system. Okay, that's happening even in the case of the Paul is dead story. You raise doubts that the standards of reporting by the newspapers are really as good as the general public believes. Thereby, you undermine the press. Okay, and they do that again by using implausible explanations of major events. And I'm going to say more about how they do that. Now, because they undermine well-established inquiry and information systems in society, conspiracy theories undermine or destabilize those societies, because if you don't have a system by which the public or ordinary people can draw on the knowledge of experts, for example, draw on the media in order to learn about current events, you're going to destabilize the functioning of these systems. And who is served by that? Of course, it's often served by extremist positions, and that's what extremists love conspiracy theories, because they argue for radical political changes by undermining or destabilizing the existing systems of exchange of information in the societies, and thereby, once they go away, that is, once they disappear, these existing systems, radical changes in political changes, extremist positions become available, because people don't have that level of trust in the ordinary information exchange anymore that they need in order to learn from others. Okay, so now let's look at some conspiracy theories and at some features of conspiracy theories that show us why they're really unlikely to be true. First feature, conspiracy theories tend to be extremely speculative. They're always about sort of connecting the dots that no one has yet seen, how things that are, that it's like, they try to raise this, they try to sort of encourage this way of thinking, wow, I mean, the eye couldn't see that those things hang together in this way. They're never, but on the other hand, based on the standard scientific procedures and evidence that we find in the sciences. So example, this, the Paul is dead myth. There's a lot more parts of it, but one of them is about this cover. So the idea is that Paul McCartney is the third person here. That isn't really Paul. Okay, first part. So isn't really Paul, and the Beatles want to display that. Paul doesn't wear any shoes. Okay. So he's already a little bit like a ghost. He also walks differently from all the other people. He has a right foot in front, where all the other three Beatles have the left foot in front. Paul was left-handed, left-handed, but this person is wearing the cigarette in the right hand, which no smoker would do. And he's dressed like a corpse in a coffin. Behind him is the graveren, the person who put him to in the grave. In front walks a person dressed like God, and the next is someone dressed like a priest. Okay, so you are then in the conspiracy theory connecting those dots. You see, wow, it's all already there, and there's more in this picture. You could find out about the Paul is dead myth. It's kind of interesting. There's lots of parts, but it's always about kind of connecting the dots in new ways. Compare that to scientific investigations of, for example, the Iran-Contra affair, where there are literally just hundreds of scientific articles that you can find, for example, on Google Scholar, published in various journals about this. The books published in the standard press about this. There's no connecting of dots here. It's just standard scientific procedures. Investigative reporting, standard scientific procedures. First, investigative journalism finds out about something, then scientists after the fact are going to investigate the affair. We're going to get more knowledge, more evidence, so on and so forth. Now, that's, of course, not, and you see that also in Noam Chomsky talks about, for example, the involvement of the US in various overthrows of governments and how it's covered up. He doesn't connect the dots. He just presents you with massive amounts of evidence. Okay. Now, okay, again, it doesn't to say that conspiracies are speculative or science isn't, doesn't say that science is always right. It's just, it might, sometimes science makes mistakes, but it's not speculative by design. Second feature of conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are by their nature contrarian. They're always contrary to some official story or contrary to the obvious explanations or appearances. Okay, now they're not always they're not always contrary to the official story, because sometimes governments that have control over what the official story is, they themselves produce conspiracy theories. Right? For example, the Nazis did that. Of course, Trump is famous for having done that. But they're always contrary to the appearances, to what everyone seems to think, what seems to be right. Example by the Nazis. Okay. There's official Nazi conspiracy theories, the so-called Dolchstoßlegende, or the stab in the back myth, according to which the loss of Germany in the First World War, so that's before the Nazis, wasn't caused by on the battlefields, that the German was just beaten by the Allied forces, but because of some betrayal at home by the socialist and Jewish elites. And these propaganda images like the one on the right were published with that story. And this became the official part of the Nazi sort of history. But that too is contrary to appearances, because literally millions of German soldiers experienced how they were beaten by the Allied forces. And this just undermined that obvious explanation that the Germans just lost the war by the normal ways in which armies lose wars. Okay. So again, conspiracy theories are always contrarian. They always say things are different from how they appear to be. Third, they're esoteric. They rule in the most crazy of ideas, but rule out the obvious ideas. Okay. This David Icke is a fascinating figure that spreads conspiracy theories left and right. This is just an example for how crazy they sometimes are. This is just quoting from Wikipedia, how he has a conspiracy theory where reptilians called the Archons have hijacked the Earth and are stopping humanity from realizing its true potential. Crazy view. It's esoteric for sure. It's certainly not the ordinary kinds of explanations. Fourth, the conspiracy theories are always amateurish. That is, professionals might be involved in spreading the conspiracy theories, and Cassam has some nice examples of how philosophers are involved in it. I don't think that's an accident, actually. We can talk about that. The philosophers are especially involved in spreading conspiracy theories. But they're amateurish in the sense that they're never really promoted by professionals working in the field in which they're experts. Or sometimes I guess they are fringe experts. They are fringe in their field, but they never would be judged to be good experts by the standards of expertise that we talked about when we talked about Goldman, or in Anderson's piece, Elizabeth Anderson's piece, on how we're able to recognize experts. Okay. They're never like that. Final aspect that I think is also interesting, that conspiracy theories tend to be pre-modern. It's a term from Brian Keeley, on conspiracy theories in the 1990s, an older term. In the following sense, they assume a world where things happen for a reason. If something big happens, there must have been a reason. Things are connected. Everything is connected to everything. That's like, the world can be controlled by a few powerful individuals. Okay, it's a very pre-modern idea that reminds one of what's described, say, in Homer's myth. It's very, very unlike what we know about the world from science now, where it's usually, how do things happen? It's really complicated. Bad things happen for no reason. Shit happens, and sometimes really bad shit happens too. And it doesn't happen for a reason. So they oppose that. Okay, now why are they unlikely to be true? Because explanations that are speculative, contrarian, esoteric, amateurish, and pre-modern, they're very unlikely true. Why? Because scientific evidence normally is better than speculation. Appearances, like how things seem to be, according to common sense, it's mostly true. It's not always true, but it's mostly correct. Esoteric, well, normal things are the norm. I mean, things normally are not weird. They're normally normal. Their experts normally know more than amateurs, and mostly shit just happens without a reason. Okay, so that doesn't mean that they're never true. They could sometimes be true, but it just because they have these features, they're really unlikely to be true. Okay, now again, back to the function. The function of these proposing these really unlikely explanations that are implausible because they have these features that I just mentioned. Why would someone propose such an explanation? The proposal is they propose them, or these conspiracy theories spread because by proposing these really outlandish explanations of big events that are so unlike normal explanations, they undermine the system of normalcy. They destabilize the normal system of inquiring and information exchange. And by proposing and spreading these really unnormal explanations, they thereby cause so much noise in the system that they destabilize that system. Okay, so that's anyway Cassam's proposal about conspiracy theories. All right. In the next part of the lecture, we're going to talk about now what's then wrong with conspiracy theories.